Today I'm going to focus on one of the most important local business tips that I could give anyone. And it's an important one because most people know it but actually fail to apply it. So I want you to really focus today on what this point is and then apply it to your business, and then you'll see the benefits over time. So what actually are we talking about? Well, it's all about focus, but focusing on the things you can control and not on the things you can't control. Now, why is that such an important principle or rule to take on board today? Well, you may have heard of Pareto's principle or the 80-20 principle. So what is the 80-20 principle? Well, basically, it's known as the Pareto principle. It means that you'll get 80% of the results from putting in 20% of the effort. So what does that mean? Well, in effect, don't try boiling the ocean. In other words, you can't do everything. And in fact, most things you won't be able to control. So when you look at your business, or you look at your Google My Business ranking, or you look at your search results, and you then see you're not number one, or you're not appearing in the area that you thought you should be, don't overly worry these things, because ultimately Google says this, and I'll quote Google:
"Local results are based primarily on relevance, distance, and prominence. You can't control all of these factors."
So notice Google says you can't control everything. So if you can't control everything, then what can you control? Well, using the 20-80 principle, you just need to focus on the 20% that's going to have the biggest effect. And that's what we're going to look at together today in today's video. We're going to see where to focus your efforts to get the maximum effect. And at the end as well, I've got some 13 tips in effect that you may have gone through before, but the chances are there's a few in there that you've never seen before. So I'll take you through those a bit later in the video. But for now, welcome to my video. So I'm Zane from Zanet Design, and I help businesses grow on the internet. So if you've got a small business and you want to see it grow and get traction, if you want to see it get more inquiries and clients, then this type of video will be for you. So make sure you subscribe down below. Now, we're thinking today about what things you should be focusing on. Now, maybe in the comments below, you could put what you think you should be focusing on. So when it comes to Google My Business, maybe SEO, when it comes to your website, social media, maybe just put down below what you think is important to you. What are you focusing on at the moment? What do you think you should be putting your time and effort into to benefit your business? And I look forward to then commenting on your comments below. But we're going to particularly focus on some things that are going to get more benefits to your business. In fact, 80% more benefits to 20% of the focus, just by looking at a few simple tricks and a few simple things you can do on Google My Business. And also thinking a certain way, thinking about how the customer is perceiving your business is an important way to focus. And also being aware of the things not to focus on. In fact, if you focus on the majority of things that come your way, whether it's stats, analytics, insights, a lot of these things actually could put you off if you focus too much on those things. So focus on the things you can control and not on the things you can't. That's what we're going to look at in today's video as I jump straight in now and show you how to do it.
So first of all, we're just going to look at a Google help page. So I'll put a link to this down below, and it's entitled Improve Your Local Ranking on Google. And when I speak about focusing on the things you can control, just listen to what Google has to say on this. So I'm just going to play a part of this video and see what they say.
When you search for your business, you might not see it listed as a recommendation. Local results are based primarily on relevance, distance, and prominence. You can't control all of these factors, but here are a few things you can do to help your business appear. First,
so did you see there that you can't control all these factors? And that's the key thing, is when people feel, well, why am I number one when people search for me locally, then it's worth bearing in mind that the things like relevance, distance, and relevance, distance, and prominence. So which one of those three things can you control, do you think? Or can you control all three? Well, think of relevance first of all. How can you control relevance? Well, if I go to one of my businesses, let's take this one here. So when it comes to relevance, then my information should be relevant to what they're searching for. So if I'm a web designer, then there should be websites there for them to see. Relevance as well is based on things like, have I products that are supporting what it is that I'm offering? And also when it comes to the information that's presented about my business, so particularly with keywords, if we come down the page, well, first of all, we've got the categories. Are they relevant to what someone's searching for? Are my services relevant as a web designer? Is my health and safety relevant to what people require locally? And is my information here, particularly in the first 200 or so characters, is that relevant too? So let's just go back to what Google said. Relevance refers to how well a local business profile matches what someone is searching for. So if they're wanting a web designer that, say, for instance, can handle Google My Business, SEO, and can build websites that work with mobile-friendly devices, then that would be the case, wouldn't it? I would match those things. So 80-20, will that produce results? Well, relevance will. I can make my business relevant. What about distance? Well, do you think you can control that? Well, when someone types into Google and they're searching for your business, Google knows where they are, that it knows their IP address, it knows exactly where they're located pretty much, especially if they've enabled cookies, if they're using a local provider, ISP provider, then the chances are Google will know where you are. And on that basis then, can you control the distance you are from the person that's looking for you? Well, of course you can't. And you can't change where your office is located or where you've registered your business. So don't focus on it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about trying to be everything to everyone. That isn't going to give you much results with the amount of work that goes in. So maybe you should focus on distance to some degree, but that's not going to give you the rewards that relevance will. And what about prominence? How does prominence come about? Well, it mentions prominence is also based on information that Google has about your business. So if you're a new business, then you don't really have prominence. What else does prominence refer to? Prominence refers to how well known a business is. So if you're a local restaurant called McDonald's and you've got a chain of McDonald's, then obviously people know who you are. But if you're just starting out, then people are generally not going to see you as prominent. So can you control prominence? Probably not. Can you control distance? Probably not. Can you control relevance? Yes. So what we're seeing here is we're seeing which one are you going to focus on? You're going to focus on all 300%, or are you going to focus on the one that's probably going to give you the best results? In this case, relevance would be the way to do that. So what else can you do? Well, obviously one of the most basic things you can do is to make sure you've claimed your business and you've updated it on all the basic things. So say I was a bike shop, I could do a search in the area where my bike shop is, and then I can make sure that my business comes up. And also just have a look to see what are others doing that you also can replicate. So can you do in-store pickup? So you want to make sure that what you can do is you can make a claim to your business if you haven't done so already. What you can also do is you can ask for people to give you reviews. If you've got a poor review, like in this case, you need quite a few other reviews then to move that average up. Because reviews, again, as much as they won't make a lot of difference, but I mean, out of these two here, this one's got 134 reviews, this one's got 3. Looking at the score, which one are you going to choose? So reviews do have an impact on the choices that people are making. You can do something about that by asking for reviews. No harm in asking customers to provide you with a review. Now, something else you can do is you can check in your Google My Business to see if there's anything under View Plan. So sometimes if you click on that, they'll say, for instance, turn on messaging. So if you've got an app downloaded, you need to turn that on to then receive direct messaging where people can make inquiries. That gives you an inquiry button as well, which is really useful. So you need to follow these types of things through, and that's something else you can do, something else you can focus on, something you can control. Part of that 20% that's going to give you 80% of the benefits. And something else you can do as well when it comes to information Just think when you're talking to your customer, when you're writing your information, make sure that you're appealing to what they're looking for. So I mentioned, for example, over 20 years experience. Well, I'm not worried about that. That doesn't make any difference to me. But for someone who's looking for someone who's got experience, then that's really important. Again, mobile devices. Everyone's using mobiles these days. If someone's looking for a web designer and they're particularly thinking about, I need someone that can design for mobiles, well then again, this would be an important part. So what I would do is try and think of what is it your customers are particularly looking for? What are they interested in? Often the keywords show what it is that they're interested. And also you can see when you look at your photos as well, see what's popular with your customers. What are they looking at? What are they actually trying to find out? Is there certain types of designs they're interested in? So again, you can learn quite a lot from your photos. Also, if you click on insights, now this is my biggest thing really, is that you've got all these keywords that people are using to find you on, but also you want to make sure you're standing out above what everyone else is doing. So are you above what other businesses like you are doing? And are you submitting more photos? We covered that in a previous video. But these are things you can do. You can submit photos. You can ask your customers to provide photos and reviews. Things that you can do. And something else you can do is you can go to answerthepublic.com, and this website will give you information about what people are actually looking for. So for example, I'm a web designer. So if I type in web design, so what are people genuinely looking for when it comes to web design? I don't know, but this is going to tell me. So if I go to, these are the questions that people are typing into Google regarding web design. Now, it's probably easy to click on data. So can you web design with Python? Can I learn web design on my own? How web design helps business? How web design works? Where is web design? Where to learn web design? Where to find web design clients? Where to learn web design for free. So these are genuine searches. Now, some of them aren't going to provide me with any business or clients, but actually having said that, we just need to think about what your clients might be looking for. So maybe they're asking which web design company is local to me that's going to provide me with a decent website. Will web design be automated? How will web design change in the future? So articles like these can be useful. If you just want to know what to write about and what to include as keywords. Another thing you can do is if you've got Facebook for your business, then you can also get recommendations and reviews here. And these recommendations and reviews will then give it a rating that can sometimes show on Google My Business. So I looked on it today and it isn't showing, but on here, sometimes next reviews, it will show like a 5 out of 5 for Facebook, so it picks up your reviews from time to time. But there's loads of other things you can focus on when it comes to reviews, which we'll look at on a future video. But also we've looked at before things like answering your questions. That again is important, because if people have genuine questions and you don't answer them straight away, then the chances are you've lost that person. That's a person who's so interested they've got a question about your product. So ultimately, going back to where we started, Google said you can't control everything. Now we've looked at just a few things you can control. We've also looked at a few things you can't control. You can't do anything about being in the top 3 immediately. You can't do anything about being in the right vicinity at the right time. You can't even do anything about the authority that Google gives you immediately, especially if you're a new business. But there are so many more things you can do. There, in fact, I've got this video now that I want you to follow. It's got 13 things you can do straight away. Easy little tips. It's the most popular video I had last year. If you haven't seen it already, then you need to make sure you watch this. Follow the tips. And then once you've done those things, you would have completed the top things you can do. 20% of the work for 80% of the results. I see you now over on these 13 optimization tips.